Hi y'all, Darla here with Growing Tropical. Well, you guys, I'm out here standing in the very hot north side of our property, and I'm only going to be standing here for a few minutes because I mean it is like boiling hot out here. But I am standing out here because I want to show you guys something very quickly, something that happens to every gardener at some time in their lifetime. I was planting last night. I was out here in my glory planting under our cabana, and I was planting up some of the hanging baskets that are on the cabana. And I was so excited to get it all done last night. And when I came out this morning, these two baskets that are right here, these guys are holding actually some golden globes, and they are absolutely beautiful. But when I walked out here this morning, this particular basket right here, and I don't know if you guys can see it on camera or not, but it's a metal container, a metal hanging basket container, and they, as a rule, they will rust, and eventually I have to throw them out. However, I thought that I would be able to get one more use out of them, and I was wrong, because again, when I came out here this morning, I saw that the whole bottom half of the metal ring that holds the bottom together had just, as a matter of fact, when I walked out, it was just kind of hanging. And I thought, what on earth is that? And I walked over here, and it just rusted solid, so I was able just to pull it off. But it is barely hanging on with the prongs, the metal prongs that come up underneath of this basket. And I know that this one's going to not be far behind. So what I need to do is I need to take these beautiful plants out of these baskets, throw these baskets away, and I need to put them into something else. Now I have two really beautiful baskets, hanging baskets, that I'm going to be using, and what I need to do first is I need to spray them. They were beautiful baskets that I had purchased, gosh, probably about maybe 4 or 5 years ago at a garden nursery. They were having a big sale, and they were selling a lot of like vintage baskets, metal, heavy metals and irons and stuff. And these baskets are absolutely beautiful. And I really haven't done anything with these baskets, these particular baskets. I've just let them age because I just love that the patina that they've taken on. But now they've just kind of grown a little bit beyond that pretty patina that that some of that metal takes on, and I'm going to give them a spray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take you around. I'm going to be doing it in the front yard because it is much cooler. I'm going to be spraying them under the queen palm trees, and we're going to go around the front yard. We're going to give these baskets a spray, and then I will bring you back in the backyard. It'll probably be when that sun has gone a little bit overhead because it is so oppressive out here. It's not even funny. But I'm going to be putting these beautiful golden globes into those baskets, and what we'll do is we'll come back and take a look. But before we do that, we're going to go in the front yard, and I'm going to show you the baskets that I'm talking about, and I'm going to go ahead and spray those. So let's go ahead and take a look at those baskets and give them a spray. Okay, so now I'm in the front yard, you guys, but not before I had to go into the house and get myself a glass of iced tea. It is just so hot out here, and even though in the front yard I am getting a little bit of a reprieve, the humidity levels are just off the chain, which is nothing unusual for my Zone 10 South Florida. But I hope that you guys are going to be able to see these baskets that are right here in front of me. I'm under a lot of dappling light because of the queen palm trees, but I'm hoping you're going to be able to see them. Let me put my tea down real quick here and just talk a little bit about these baskets. They are the most beautiful baskets, and when I saw them, I actually wish I would have bought 3 instead of just 2, but they're just a real nice heavy metal basket, and they are rusting as well, but I think it's going to be a long time before I really see any type of falling apart, because they're constructed a lot more heavy, like a heavier duty metal. I think I don't know anything about metals or anything, but I mean they're just a heavier duty metal basket. And like I said, when I first bought these baskets, they were just like a really pretty bone color, or I'm going to be spraying them with almond, the almond color called almond actually, and it's pretty close to what they were when I first bought them. But when they first started aging, they really weren't like rusting. The paint was just coming off, but it didn't look like it was how do you say it? The paint didn't look like it was flaking. You know how when you paint your fingernails and you get that flaky look? They didn't look like that or whatever. It was just I guess I called it just it was a natural patina. As the paint was wearing away, the metal was taking on just this yellowy kind of cast or whatever, and along with the rusty look or whatever, and they were just looking super pretty. I don't know if I'm painting that as a kind of an icky picture or not, but they just started taking on a really pretty look as they were aging in that paint. paint was like, you know, flaking away. And so I left them. But now there is literally, you know, I mean, I don't even know if there's any paint left on these baskets, and they've taken on more of a rusty look as opposed to like a patinaed look. And so now it's time for me, I think, to go ahead and spray them. And I really want to spray them. I'm going to go ahead and show you. I'm just using a Rust-Oleum paint, and it's got a primer that's all in it, and I'm just going to be painting these. And like I said, the color is called, it's a gloss almond. And I've been using gloss on my baskets. You know, a lot of times when I buy the baskets, they're not necessarily glossy. It's just more like a flat finish. But I like that gloss. I think it's just a matter of personal preference. That's all. But this is a gloss almond color, and I'm going to just spray them up. And Robin's got this makeshift stand here for me because they're a lot easier to spray, I find, when they're hanging. As a matter of fact, we've already sprayed her. Robin actually, he sprayed the hook for me already, so we could go ahead and just get these all hung up here, and the hook would be nice and dry. But this is just a shepherd's hook that I have stuck in the ground, and it's got 2 hooks on it, and it makes it nice because, like I said, again, it's easier to paint the baskets when they're hanging because of the chains or whatever. They can just, you know, I can paint everything instead of having to have the chain, you know, fall inside, and then it's just kind of chaotic. So with them all opened up and hanging, it just makes them a lot easier. So let me go ahead and I'm going to just fast forward through all of this, you guys, because once you've seen somebody spray paint, you know, nobody wants to see paint dry, basically. So anyway, I'm going to fast forward through this, and we will come back and take a look at what they look like when they're all finished. So let's go. Okay, so these baskets are finished. They are dry and ready to line and plant up. They look absolutely beautiful. As a matter of fact, they are almost a spitting image of what they were when I first purchased them, and that makes me very, very happy. Like I said, when I first bought them, they you know, they looked a lot like this, and they just weathered so well, and they just, as the paint wore, they patinaed so pretty. Like I said, it was just like a yellowing cast or whatever that they took on, and they just had that real very vintage look. It looked really nice in the garden, and but now it was time to paint them because they were taking on more of that rusty look, and I didn't really care for that. So anyway, they're all fresh. They look absolutely beautiful. They're not tacky or anything like that. So let's go ahead and get these taken to the backyard under the cabana. Let's get some liners in them, and let's get those Golden Globes out of those rusty baskets that are back there before they fall through. Oh my God, I hope not. And let's go ahead and get them in the new basket. So let's go ahead and take a walk out back. Okay, now I'm under the cabana, and here are the 2 baskets that are literally falling apart. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to deconstruct. I'm going to take these Golden Globes, both of these guys, out of here, set it aside, and then what I'm going to do is put the 2 new baskets that I just painted, I'm going to put them in their place. Now, what I have to do is I have to go ahead and take the drip out as well. So if you guys see me messing with brown tube, these do have drip line that go to them to water these pots or whatever. So the brown tube is going to be the drip, so I'm going to go ahead and just take that out and then lift the Golden Globes out. So let's go ahead and get these baskets deconstructed. Okay, so I got the old basket taken down, and I got the new basket in its place. So I've got to do a couple different things. I'm going to have to take the existing drip line, and I'm going to have to tack it down to one side of this basket to keep it nice and secure. And then once I have it all lined and the plant all in it, then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and run it down around the inside of the plant. So let's go ahead and get the this basket lined. Now I do different things for, you know, at different times for different baskets. I did a video not long ago where I showed lining baskets with a weed liner. Actually, it was a weed barrier. Actually, I believe it was a weed barrier, and I am loving it. I actually have several of my baskets that are lined with that weed barrier, and it works absolutely beautiful. It is a little more cost effective than the core liners, and so I kind of go back and forth between the two. Now in this particular basket, I am going to be putting a core liner in there. I actually had a couple of core liners that I had just kind of thrown off to the side, and I've had them for a little while. They're kind of thin, but by the time they're actually, let me show them to you. They are quite large, actually. If you guys can see that, they're quite large, but look at this little gaping hole that's in it. So I thought, you know what, for as large as what they are, they will, let's go ahead and just do it. They'll fit right down, or it will fit right down inside of this basket. And what I normally do is, if it's oversized, I'd rather have it that way, because then I can take a scissor and I can actually do what I need to do. I can kind of cut it and manipulate it to fit down inside here. Let me show you. And like I said, I'm not worried about the gaping hole that's in there, and I will show you what I do to fix that. So we've got this liner down, pushed inside here. So what I do is I take my scissor, and everywhere there is like a gap, like you can see where it like folds in right here. What I do is in that crease, I go ahead and I just cut. I hope you guys can see that okay. Turn around to the back of the camera. Right in that crease, right where it creases on the inside of this basket, you can see where it kind of comes together, because the circumference of the basket is not the same size as the circumference of this core liner. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to cut right down into that crease, and I go all the way down to the base. And then what I do is I literally just fold it over top of itself, and what it does is it lays nice and flat. Can you see that, how nice and flat that lays? Now I'm going to go around to this side, and once again you can see there's a crease right here. Now what's beautiful about this particular, where this crease is falling, you see where this gaping hole is at? It will actually, and let me show you, it'll actually cover, when I cut in that crease right here, I go all the way down, get it nice and boom. Okay, so what I do is I bring this side in, this side over, and I just made that gaping hole go away because I was able to double it up. By cutting in that crease, I was able to double up that liner. Now, I've got one small little hole. I don't know if you guys can see, like right in here. Let me tip it over. I've got one gaping hole. You can kind of see my fingers coming out. What I do is I usually buy like this core liner. I buy it in like bulk. And it's a little expensive to do it that way, which is why I use the weed barrier a lot of times too. But I use that that roll of core liner. I use that for a lot of different things. Let me show you what I do. Hold on one second. Okay, what I do is I save my scraps. I like to be very, very thrifty. I like to be frugal. I like to save money wherever I can, especially when it comes to the garden, because my goodness, let's just face it, it's so expensive. Plants are so expensive, and these core liners are so expensive that I save every little scrap. And this is one of the reasons why. The little tiny pieces, a lot of times what I'll do is in my my terracotta pots, you know how sometimes the holes will be like really, really big in the bottom of your terracotta pots? Well, I'll just take these and I'll lay it right down inside there and cover over that hole, and it still lets water and air through, so the pot drains very well, but it keeps the potting soil in. So that's one of the reasons why I keep a lot of these scraps. But these bigger scraps, when I have stuff much like this, where I have this little gaping hole, I just take a portion of this liner. Now let me see how much I'm going to need. I'm going to probably just need a little square here. So you don't have to be fancy, just I cut it off just to you know, kind of cover up that gaping area to where there will be, you know, no leakage of potting mix that, you know, comes out of the side of it. And so what we do here is I just lay it right down. You guys can see that. I just lay it right down inside, right over top of that, where that gaping, or I shouldn't even say it's a gaping hole. It was a gaping hole. Now it's just where the cocoa liner has just stretched. When you take that fiber and like this cocoa liner like this, when you stretch all this, it makes, you know, it pulls apart and it will make like, you know, holes. So I just go ahead and, like I said, I just cover that over, and now I'm going to bring the camera in really close and tight so you guys can see. Okay, now you guys can see down inside of this pot. So basically what I've done is I've just lined it like you saw earlier when I was cutting, and in the creases, and just kind of lining it all over. And anywhere that I had, like for example, where this piece is over here, there's a little bit, you can see light coming through. As a matter of fact, whoops, let me steady the camera up. You can see my fingers right there, and we do not want to see that. So I just flop this back over like so, and what it does is it just covers that up, and it just allows that soil, or will allow that soil to be in there and not come through those sides. So this is what it looks like. Whoops, excuse me y'all, I didn't mean to make you dizzy there. This is what it looks like all along the outside. We've just lined it, and I pushed it all the way down as tight as I could. So now this basket is all ready to plant up. Okay, so now that we've got the liner, we've got this, the drip line on the outside ready to secure. We've got the liner on the inside. Now we're going to go ahead and add our potting mix. Okay, the potting mix is in. Now I haven't added any, like, you know, slow release fertilizer or anything at this point, because this guy right here, because he was a very well, I'm going to bring it on the outside, because this has been a very well established plant already, and this is how I get instant impact when I don't want to mess around, especially when it comes to my containers like this. Sometimes I'll buy baby plants and I'll start them from fresh, but I am one of those instant gratification people, and a lot of times when I'm doing baskets like this and I want my baskets to look instantly beautiful, I will go for the basket, or the hanging basket, because this came in actually a basket that wasn't too awful much smaller than what this was. But what I'll do is I will take it right out of that basket and I will bring it home and put it in one of my pretty baskets. So a lot of times what I'll do is I will fill this basket up with soil, potting mix. And if I'm planting, like, you know, just the smaller container plants where you can, you know, put a whole bunch of soil in and then just nestle them down, at that point I will mix like some slow release fertilizer granules. I'll mix it like in the top like inch or two of the soil. But in this case, it's pretty far down, and I just want to make sure that I'm feeding from the top down. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this golden globe inside here. And I'm going to have to be very, very careful, because this basket, the chain that it's hanging from, is a lot thicker than the basket that it came out of. They were just, you know, it was just like a really super thin chain, and it was a lot easier to maneuver. So we want to be very careful that we don't break this plant. So here we go. This plant is a pretty tough plant. If I were doing this with something like, say, poinsettias, what an absolute nightmare that would be. These guys are pretty tough. They don't look like they snap off or anything very easy. So for that, I'm very thankful, because of what I am actually doing. Instant gratification sometimes comes at a price. But I got it down inside of there. And I just want to make sure that all of these guys fall to the outsides of the actual chain. So far, so good. Nothing has broken. Everything looks good. Let me twist it around here and see what this guy looks like. Oh, we got a couple of little ones out here that need to go on the other side. This guy needs to be desperately watered. I did not water them last night. A lot of times what I do, y'all, when I'm planting up my plants, depending on how much the water or the root ball has been watered in, like its original nursery can, As a matter of fact, I try to do that with all of the things that I plant. I usually try to water it in the original nursery can. I watered it in really well, let it sit for just a few minutes to absorb really well, that root ball absorb before I plant them. And if I'm doing it in the ground, it's not as big of a deal, but if you're doing it in like baskets, a lot of times, especially for things like, well, periwinkle, that's probably a real good example. Periwinkle, especially like in the little cell packs, those guys are, you can water the heck out of those cell packs because they drain so quickly. But when you were taking those little tiny vinca plants, those periwinkle plants out of those trays, and you were putting them into a basket, if they are, you know, they're good and wet when they're coming out, if you put them into a basket, or my experience is whenever I put them into a basket and then I water them in immediately, I will rot at least 2 of them, at least. And I find that by just letting them acclimate, once, you know, putting them in, they're nice and moist, putting them into the soil, let it acclimate for a good 24 hours, then I can go ahead and I can kind of read them. And if they're wilting a little bit, I know they need water. If they're still, you know, nice and perky, I will let them go for yet another 24 hours. And that for me has been kind of key to really successful, you know, basket container gardening, because a lot of times it's so easy. Again, like I said, in my experience, it's so easy to rot those smaller type plants. Now, in this case, this guy was a lot bigger. He probably could have been watered last night, but I just, I didn't do it. It was getting late, and I figured when I came out this morning, I would go ahead and I would water him. But when I saw the bottom was falling out, I knew that watering would be just, you know, it would be just futile. I wouldn't even need to do something like that. I needed to get him out of that basket and get put into another one. So anyway, now that we've got him all settled into this basket, and he looks pretty darn good, with the exception of he's a little wilty because he does need to be watered. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tack down. Matter of fact, I'm going to tack it there. What I basically do, and I just do this, y'all, because I don't want it just like, you know, out, you know, like in the open like this. I like it to be nice. Robin was the one that actually told me, he goes, it would look really nice if you kind of like tacked it down, because then it just kind of blends in with the chain. So let's go ahead, and I just take little clear twist ties that look like this, and basically what I do is I just kind of, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to secure it up here because it looks like it's kind of sticking out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and secure him right here, and then I just trim off the excess there, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring it down on the inside here, and I'm going to secure it right here. And I just think it looks nice. It's just, you know, it's personal preference. I just think it looks really nice when I can secure this all together. It's nice and tight, and I just trim it off. And so you can see it just kind of, I mean, even though the tubing is a brown color or whatever, it's still, your eye doesn't draw to it near as much as if it were just kind of like flopping out, you know, in the wind, so to speak. So anyway, now that I've got it down here, I'm going to bring it around. Actually, I hope you guys can see this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring it inside, and I'll turn this around. I'm going to get him secured in one more spot down here, and then I will flip it around to show you. Okay, y'all, I wanted to show you the baskets from the outside of the cabana. Look at the difference. I mean, I walked away from them just a little bit ago, and I turned around and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this one. This is the one that we just planted up. Look at how gorgeous. I mean, it just makes a statement all by itself without anything in it. But those gold globes look so beautiful in there. And I thought this one was beautiful. And don't get me wrong, that basket, you know, it has seen its better days. But here again, you can see, y'all, this is the liner that I used. This was a weed barrier, the liner that I used, a weed barrier liner that I used. And it has been working like just like a charm. It really has been. The water flows through it beautifully. And gosh, I've had these in here for a full year now. I've had this liner going. And I've, you know, taken things out and put new things in, but I thought this looked really pretty. Again, like I said, I thought it looked really pretty in there until this. I couldn't be more thrilled with the way they turned out with the paint, the spray paint. It's an almond color. It's beautiful. And the thing that I think I like most about it is it's soft. and there's not really, I didn't want there to be any color there, because whatever I put in the basket, you know, much like this bright yellow golden globe, I wanted it to be the star of the show, so to speak. I didn't want the basket, you know, to like overpower it. So I think I made a right decision there by keeping it very neutral in color, and then being able to put in this beautiful, beautiful golden globe. Isn't that just as pretty as can be? Like I said, it needs a little bit of water, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the second one, and I'm not going to do that on camera, but I'll show you guys what it looks like when I'm all done deconstructing it, because you did see this one. So let me go ahead and get this one all deconstructed again, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at just how pretty they will look. So be right back. We got twins, you guys. Aren't they beautiful? I couldn't be more happy with this. When I came out this morning and I saw those baskets, or the one particular basket that was on this side, and I saw that it had broken through the bottom, I was like, oh my God, all that work that I did last night or the night before, and now I got to deconstruct them all and redo them. But you know what? Like I said before earlier, sometimes I think things happen for a reason. I don't know whatever reason this could have possibly been, but I'm taking this as a sign that these two baskets were meant to be here. I never have used these baskets along our cabana before. They were always in other areas, you know, of the property, hanging beautifully. But, you know, putting a fresh coat of paint on them and bringing them, kind of restoring them to what they looked like when I originally bought them, and bringing them over here on the side of the cabana, I couldn't be more happy. They look so, so pretty. I went ahead and I added a little water to this basket because he was getting very, very wilty. So I went ahead and I added some slow release fertilizer to this guy right here, and I watered him in. And let me just show you real quick what I'm going to use. Basically, let me grab this real quick. Basically, you guys, there's all different kinds of time release formulas that you can use. I just use this Dynamite. I use it quite a bit in the garden, you know, in my container gardens, I should say, when I'm looking for like a granular. But on top of putting a granular on there, I will also probably every other water or so, as we progress through the summer months, I will be using like a liquid, like a soluble fertilizer, and probably more than likely I'm going to be using a bloom booster, because these guys, I want to keep them looking really scrumptious and this beautiful, yummy yellow looking color all season long. So anyway, you guys, I hope that you thought that this was a lot of fun. I did. And it was kind of one of those last minute videos. I really had not anticipated doing this today, but sometimes when you walk in the garden, there's just a need that jumps out and it needs to be taken care of. And I knew that this basket on this side, with that ring falling out of the bottom of that, I knew it was only a matter of time before that thing just sunk and the dirt got heavy enough after I watered it to just completely, you know, break that metal right in half. So anyway, you guys, I had a lot of fun. I feel like I was very productive today. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, would sure appreciate a thumbs up. And guess what? We'll plan on seeing you guys in the next video. Bye for now.